ACC football is full of excitement this season, but will there only be a couple of wins for some of our teams? We'll talk about predictions, how many will win this season for each respective team, and who might come away with the most. The Seminoles are looking better and better, as we've already said, to be the top team in the ACC.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, joined by Kenton Gibbs of Locked On Wolfpack. Each and every day, you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. We're talking through some ACC football today, some win percentage predictions, and some confusion because last time I checked, half games is not a statistic in college football, but needless to say, the plus or minus on how many each of our respective programs will get is up in the air for DraftKings. So we'll go over all of that, as well as why Florida State may just be the best team in the ACC when it's all said and done. Kenton, how are you feeling on this evening?
Oh, I'm feeling great. I'm ready to get into some football. You know what I mean? Even during the offseason, if we talking ball, I'm excited to do so.
So let's start with the bottom of the barrel here. We haven't quite got through their schedule yet, but Virginia is only looking about 3.5 wins according to DraftKings when it comes to their full roster for the 2023 football season. And, 3.5 wins is certainly something that definitely didn't see coming last year. But this year, 3 is tough, but they got to get at least 5 if you want to have some confidence in Tony Elliott.
I mean, confidence in Tony Elliott is one thing. Beating the Vegas odds is another. And looking at their schedule, how do I put this? It's some very nasty work ahead of them. There is this schedule. I'm having a tough time. You said their under-over is at 3.5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see 1 win. I see 2 wins. I see 3. Yeah. I think 3.5 is a good spot to have that. If you really believe in them, that's a good spot. It's a good spot.
And the leaving of Brennan Armstrong certainly will hurt the program, figuring out who their QB1 is, more importantly, what their defense will look like, because it looked terrible the past couple of years. Having an offensive-minded coach certainly doesn't help things if you're looking for someone who, of course, is maybe defensive focused. And the clock is ticking. Tragedy happened last year. You can't take away from that like that. It's just something nobody can predict. But is there a rallying cry for this program to kind of look ahead and figure out and find maybe a couple upsets?
Losing one of your top receivers to the NFL, losing another one of your top receivers in that tragic incident, and seeing what you've seen out of this team, you can give the win one for the Gipper speech. You can do all of the heroism that you want to do. I don't think that this team has. I think that 3.5 is a great place. I don't think that this team has more than 4 wins in them. And I think that they could get to 4. I don't think they will, but they could.
Another team that is close to the bottom, Georgia Tech with 4 wins as well. Virginia Tech with 4.5. We have not gone over their schedules yet, but we look forward to having those conversations with you guys throughout the offseason here on Locked On ACC. Georgia Tech, new coach, new energy, new vibes. Jeff Sims is out of there. But, it's all – Atlanta is known for some pop-up upsets, so it's not impossible to see a little more than 4 wins this season.
Year 1 under a new head coach, and we know how that goes.
Year 1.5. Year 1.5.
Year 1.5 under a new head coach. You're playing with a new quarterback. You lost a special talent in Keon White. You're losing, you're losing your starting quarterback as well. But something about Georgia Tech tells me they'll get there 4. If their under over is 4, I think you'll see a push on this season. I think you'll see them get to that 4 on the nose.
The Hokies, Virginia Tech certainly are 2 teams that have been sort of our premier programs, Virginia and the Coastal, Virginia Tech and the Coastal. But Virginia Tech, of course, Beamer Ball and things that now they're turning the page with Brett Pry. The Fuentes era is over. 4.5, would be progress, right, in a positive light, but maybe they could sneak up on 5 and possibly squeak out a 6th game.
Don't say squeak out of 6. That's outlandish.
Okay. Aggressive.
This team
aggressive.
adds a little aggressive. However, their under/over is 4.5 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
4.5. Yeah, go ahead and take that under. I don't see them winning 5 games. That means they got to win 4 and a conference game, which, again, win 4 and a game that they're probably supposed to lose. I don't know about that.
It's not impossible in the ACC because we all know that it requires the best of the best each week.
There's a surprise team every year, and this year's team could be Virginia Tech. Could be. The Hokies very much so could be that team. I don't think they will be. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't give them the dark horse. There's a couple other that I think are going to be better than what we see in the records. Let's move up a couple notches here. 5.5 wins tied between Wake Forest and Boston College. Wake Forest, we already went over their schedule. We think a bowl game is in their midst. Boston College might be a little bit tougher. It's hard to say if Hafley will be there through the entire season, but I'm hoping so. I've heard him speak. I believe in the program. Now that they have more said, they're trying to just move forward in the right direction. Positive things coming their way.
You can go ahead and book Wake Forest for 6 wins. I think you can book Wake Forest for 6. I think that's a good bet. Boston College you said 5.5 or 5?
5.5.
5.5. Yeah. Not only take that bet, take Hafley out of town before the end of the season. Take them both. He
is going to make it through the season. He is probably going to be the coach unless he finds a better job.
In the words of Shannon Sharp, both. BOAF, both. Because you need to take both bets. He's not going to be there. In the words of Magic Johnson, I ain't going to be here.
How is that even a thing considering Boston College is who they are? Like, we're acting as if this is Clemson or Miami or Louisville or hell, a Pitt. Like, let's keep it in perspective.
Okay, wait a minute now. Boston College is not traditionally terrible.
That's what I'm saying. They're not terrible, but they're not exactly rolling out 10-win seasons, 9-win, 8-win seasons.
They're a middle of the road, occasionally good to very good team.
7 wins.
Yeah, and has Hafley gotten 7?
Has he had an opportunity to?
We just talked about this yesterday. This is the sports business. Everybody's got a sad story. Everybody's got hey, there was COVID. Hey, this 5-star decommitted. Hey, this happened. Hey, that happened. At the end of the day, it is about the alphabets W and L. Which one are you walking away with? And Hafley's been walking away with a lot of la's out of this deal. He's been walking away holding a lot of L's. So I don't know how we look at this and say, oh, yeah, I fully believe that Hafley will be back, even if they only win 5 games, because it's Boston College. Boston College has a proud tradition of being at very least, very physical. They don't even hang their hat on that anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got up out the paint.
Well, they'll certainly get out of the paint if they don't get at least a bowl eligibility. We'll talk about the 6.5 win teams here in just a bit, but want to remind you guys that if you are watching the NBA playoffs, you're in for a treat. Make a fast break to FanDuel because right now new customers can get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if the first bet doesn't win. It's a great idea to get in on the action. We all know that the Warriors are probably trying to, maybe if they could, come back in that Lakers series, or will the Nuggets just be in that Western Conference final, or could Mr. Process figure it out on the Eastern side of things? The Safe and Secure app is easy to use and you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sports book. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're rocking and rolling through the 2023 ACC football team win totals per our friends at DraftKings. And make sure that you check out the idea of 6.5 wins between 4 of our schools: Duke, Pitt, NC State, and Syracuse. Now we look at 2 formidable coastal foes, former, we say, because there are no longer divisions here in the ACC. Duke and Pitt, 6.5 wins between them. The fact that Duke isn't at the bottom of the pile, to me, is very telling about where Coach has taken this crew. But for Pitt's sake, I want this to be a lie, and I want to have a little more faith in Phil Jacobic.
I don't understand what is going on in terms of Vegas. Why are they doing the betting in this way? I'm sorry, you said that Duke, NC State, Pitt, and who else? Syracuse? What under God's green earth do they know about Syracuse that we don't? What do they know? I like Gaston a lot. I like him. I'm confused there. But now
we're doing this every year about Syracuse. We're doing this every year about Syracuse, but we'll get there. My question is about the coastal foes.
The coastal folks, in terms of Pitt, I'm not surprised. I mean, honestly, losing Izzy was that offense last year. Like, that's not a joke. That's not hyperbole. He was that offense.
He had to be.
Losing him and replacing him is going to be tough. Phil Dracovic has a lot of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in him. We saw him look like a superstar, look like a guy that was going first round 2 years ago. And then last year,
but maybe he's going to channel his inner Kenny Pickett and just be one of those really long-needed seniors who finally gets it together.
Yeah, he might channel his inner Kenny Pickett, or he might channel his inner Keaton Slovis. Who knows? We don't know. We don't know who he's going to be. And this prediction from Vegas tells you that. Their defense is their defense. You know that Narduzzi going to put some boys in the league. He's going to put some boys on that all-ACC first defense team. He's going to do what he does in terms of coaching up a defense that, again, like I said with Boston College, Pitt hangs their hat on. You may win the game, but you're going to need that cold tub in spades after we're done with you. He does that. So 6.5 feels like them saying, we trust your defense, brother, but that field guy, we're not so sure.
Well, is it apparent that people trust Riley Leonard and Coach Elko and that defense of Dwayne Carter returning for his 5th season, and the consistency and the wits and the fundamentally sound football that we're seeing out of the Blue Devils?
Absolutely. This is like you said, let's talk about it. Them not being at the bottom of the heap, an accomplishment. But them predicted that if you go to a bowl game, it's not enough, according to Vegas. Like that's like your floor of expectation. Oh, I love that. I love that. That's big time for Duke. That's big time. And I'll tell you, I'm a very big proponent of the state of North Carolina building a fence around their state and keeping in the best players. I'm not saying that Duke, because their academic requirements, could do that, but I know that all those basketball players that go there ain't exactly Duke academic material. So y'all can do the same thing with football. You can find them.
Didn't you say they're not going to win 6 games? I believe that when we went over schedules.
Oh, I said that they weren't, but I'm agreeing that it's a good thing that they're predicted to win this many games. It's good for the conference when teams are good. What? Have I not always said that?
I'm just making sure that you're high on Duke today.
Do I think they'll get there? Period. Do I think they'll get there? And is it good that they're predicted to win this many games? Are two different questions, 2 very different questions.
Not a question. I'm asking for your statements.
I'm giving you my statements, and you're coming in as if I had given the statement of Duke's going to win 7 because they're 6.5. Absolutely not. I don't think they win 7.
Syracuse, Coach Babers probably on his last leg. Definitely had 9 lives last season. Unfortunate, but hey, he found some wins in the first half. Got him to bowl eligibility. Can he figure it out this go? We have yet to go over their schedule, but it's on the docket for sure.
May the odds be ever in your favor, Coach Babers. For those of you who are listening and not watching, I'm doing the Hunger Games salute that Katniss Everdeen does, because it's going to be a grind. I don't know how they get 6.5, 7, but more power to them. Dino is another one. Pack watch his own, brother. They are fin to roll you in a spliff, as the kids today say, because this is not. I'm struggling to see where they have 7 games coming from. But honestly, Syracuse is a place where I think he might be able to stay with 6. I think he might be able to stay with 6, which is less than that 6.5.
not only do you have 6 wins, but you improve from the 2 to 3 that you were seeing in seasons before. You also had Matthew Bergeron just go to the league. You had, Sean Tucker get picked up, and you had some of your defensive guys get drafted. So I think there's a lot to be said about the slow improvements from a recruiting standpoint that, hey, I get guys to the next level. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think he's on pack watch. I don't think he get to 6. I don't think that happens, but more power to him.
Does NC State get to 6?
Last time NC State was predicted to win 6.5 games, it was the year of, I want to say 2021, and they went on to win 9, and that did not include a bowl game, which they were eligible for, which got canceled at the last minute. Why is that important? I say that because they bring back a ton of talent that I think, they're losing a lot too. Let me not sit up here and pretend like they did. However, last year playing with 4 quarterbacks was a thing. Playing without Grant Gibson was a thing. Devin Carter being non-existent at times was a thing. Yeah, I think that this is with a better offensive coordinator than they had last year. Tony Gibson and Peyton Wilson coming back, which, by the way, all the folks in Raleigh, I don't think he should ever have to buy a beer again. I think that they clear this 6.5, especially with a light schedule that I'm looking at here. They clear 6.
Couple things. Last year we said the same thing. All the returners, that was their big storyline, 17 and yada, yada, yada. I think at this point, Peyton Wilson ain't doing it for me. I think his best ability is availability. So I would love for him to be consistent in terms of being healthy. When you talk about Grant Gibson, what is he on year 7?
No, he's in the league now.
Okay, great. I was about to say, because my Lord, like it's about that time.
Yeah.
Having a new center is certainly going to be an adjustment. Who is going to be the QB1 in terms of Brendan Armstrong once he goes down? Is my boy Morris going to be ready? I just don't have as much faith beyond the 7 or 8 wins that we see. I'll give you more than 6.5, but hopes up beyond that is very, very minimal.
Do I believe that they'll win 9 and be playing in the bowl against an inferior team? Yes, that UCLA team was inferior. They did not beat a single winning team that entire season. Do I believe that would be their situation again? Absolutely not. 10 is tough. That's outlandish. But do I think they'll get 7? Yeah, for sure.
9? Do you think they'll get 9?
9 is scary. I'll tell you this. If a lot of things go right for them, they can get to 9.
You love a lot of things going right. That's your favorite.
There's a difference between the floor and the ceiling. We're doing projections. I ain't going to give you an exact amount in projections. You got what I think will happen, that ceiling and that floor.
Moving up to a tier above, Louisville and Miami with 7.5 wins, which Louisville to me is a little bit dark horse. So Vegas sees something that we are throwing up our hands saying, I don't know if we see, but we wouldn't be surprised.
I don't get the vision. Get the vision, Vegas. What y'all got going on? What y'all know? What they got going on?
The loss of Malik Cunningham certainly is significant, but I think that defense is pretty sound. Maybe they're like a Duke of 2021, 2022, where they just needed a good coach to rally around them because they clearly had the horses in the stable. They just didn't have the coach to pull it out of them.
I mean, hey, in Brom they trust, right? Like this is they're expecting a lot of great things to happen under Brom, at least Vegas is, because I've never seen a first-year coach come in with this type of expectation at a school that, maybe we could say with Kelly down at LSU, we saw a team come in with like, oh, he needs to win right away. But even that team, man, a little tougher. So I'm very interested by this. Will they get to 7? I don't know. I don't think so.
7.5.
Oh, I'm sorry, 7.5. No, they're not getting to 7.5. No, they're not getting 8 wins this season.
Miami, same sort of scenario, except they have a coach that's been here for a little bit now. They understand what he's got going on. They understand his system. They've adjusted to some of his disciplinary things, and they have been on the recruiting trail, the signing trail. Make sure you guys check out Locked On Canes because our guy Alex Dodd has a lot of good things over there. Miami winning 8. Not impossible.
Miami is such an interesting case because they're always in the same spot in this regard. Or not, let me not say always. They are regularly in a very unique spot that you don't see with a lot of teams. Miami is always a top-heavy team in that every year, or not every year, in a lot of years, they have first-round guys all through that roster. You can, if you throw a rock in the huddle, you're likely to hit a guy that's probably going to play some NFL football. You're probably going to hit a Pro Bowler here and there. And yet, as a team, they have underperformed so heavily for so long. Is Mario going to get them together this year? I think they'll be much better than last year. Do they get to 8 wins this year? Somebody's got to hit their expectation. I think Miami is that team that can be that dark horse that figures it out this year. I think Miami is that team.
Moving on to our top 3 teams here with 2023 ACC football team win total predictions. We looked up a little kind of conversation with DraftKings here, and we're trying to make sure that we get you guys right for the 2023 season. Number 3 coming in is North Carolina with 8.5, which, I mean, I guess based on schedule and who they have to play, sure, you can make the conversation, but we've seen this before. They've squeaked out wins and found themselves in the ACC championships. We've seen it before where they are a powerhouse laughingstock because not quite so much. So what are we going to get now that we know who Drake May is? Will this be a sophomore slump or will he keep elevating?
Here's the unfortunate part about North Carolina. Had their coach not come out and complained about the schedule immediately upon it being released, I'd feel a little better about him. I'd feel a little better. But Mac Brown being concerned as soon as he saw the schedule, like, oh, the ACC did us dirty. They did us wrong. My brother in Christ, what do you mean? Like, I'm sorry.
I think he was going to feel that way either way.
But that's a problem. That's a problem. Like, you haven't even seen what these other teams are dragging out yet. There are so many teams on your schedule that are going to be replacing big time players. Brother, why are you concerned already? Like, hey, I'm not feeling, or they didn't do right by us. I'm concerned. I'm concerned about them at 8.5. I'm concerned about that.
I think he's not feeling because at the end of the day, we know that there are certain emotionally charged games that bring out the best or worst of your players, right? Mm-hmm. Whether they blow their wad a little too early, whether they're way too not in it, or they over looking past a certain game and they're just emotionally not invested, whether they get beat up in other games that take out some of your best players that they're trying to recover in time because they know they're going to need to be at full strength to even compete with the Clemsons of the world. Like, I think that is reason for concern.
Don't get me wrong. The back-to-back of Duke, then Clemson on the road, then NC State on the road. I want to say those games are 5 or 6 days apart. Oh, no, that's a full week apart. It's played on a Saturday this year. Yeah, they'll be okay. They'll be okay. You were not supposed to complain about that. No,
it's the end of the season.
Doesn't matter. My brother in Christ, you have a guy that is going to be called in the first 5 draft picks if everything holds. If he is who we think he is against the mixed schedule that's not just the coastal, and you're complaining about the schedule. If I was you, I'd say I love what the ACC did. I love it because they go make sure this boy here, he's the best player in the country. He's going to be the number 1 draft pick next year. By the time he's done with this schedule, y'all going to be saying, Caleb who? Just watch.
I think that they're going to win 8 games. 9 is going to be immaculate, but Drake is just one man. That defense is still that defense. Even if Cedric Gray returns, if they can't find a secondary, don't give me a damn. It won't matter much.
I agree. I thought this team was fraudulent last year. I think that they haven't improved much from last year. I don't think that they improved that much from last year. Drake May is great and all. You've lost your top 2 receivers. You've lost the entire secondary basically. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that secondary was good. However, if they weren't good, what makes you think that a couple transfers and the players that were playing behind them last year will be better?
Well, you had to get rid of the true poison.
I guess. I mean, listen.
And that was the coach. So if you cut the head off the snake, maybe we can work with a little something.
Hey, we'll see. I don't believe that they'll work their way with something to 9 games, but we'll see.
Oh, ye of little faith. Number 2, Clemson with 9.5 total wins on the season, and they're not even number 1, which is crazy. That Clemson's not number 1.
I think they get it. I mean, yes, it's crazy that they don't get it. I mean, it's crazy that they're not number 1 a little bit, but also when you look at how much Florida State is bringing back in terms of not only production, but just the sheer volume of players who played meaningful snaps. And when you look at their schedule in terms of like they're stable, they're bringing back a lot of things from last year. That's like, we haven't It's rare in college sports today to bring back most of your nucleus, and they've done so. They have multiple guys who are looked at as like, oh my God, this is an amazing player. And on top of that, they have guys who they have a good mix of not only players who are predicted to go very high in the draft, they have some guys who can improve their draft stock immensely. You always joke about Jordan Travis for Heisman. I'll tell you what, if he actually has a Heisman type of season, there is money to be made for him. There is money to be made for him that is not there for a Drake May per se. That is not there for it's not there for certain players. It's just not. That's the reality.
You think they would choose Jordan over Drake?
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is he has more to gain from a Heisman season than from a Heisman like finalist type season than Drake does. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that there is an extra motivation factor thereof. Everybody believes in this team, but they're saying the question is me. They're saying that the running game, we know what they're going to do. They're saying we have some amazing receivers. They're saying that this defense in verse, we know what he's going to do. But they're questioning me. They're saying that I'm the guy that can hold this team back. Watch this. It's there. I think they're going to win this. I think that they're going to win the over of what they're projected to win. And again, I'm not saying that Jordan Travis has a Heisman season. I'm just saying he has the most to gain.
Well, one, my man Drake already been through Heisman type of talent, type of time. So we're good on that. We're used to these sorts of things. That is nothing new to us. Two, Jordan over Cade. I don't know. I don't know who I'd rather have. I think Cade just needed an opportunity because DJ was in the way. So if you want to talk about best quarterbacks in the game right now, I would give the nod to Cade over for in the ACC. I won't even say in the game for the whole kit and caboodle. I'm just talking ACC. Drake, Cade, Jordan to me.
And okay, first of all, Cade in front of Jordan is wild. That's a wild take.
How?
What have you seen from Cade that made you say, hey, this boy?
I saw the ACC championship. What you mean? They opened the playbook and the boy lit them up. Now, mind you, UNC sucked.
Didn't light up UNC. App State. Bryce, the quarterback that couldn't play at Duke lit them up. Stop playing with me.
Florida State lost. Okay.
Stop playing.
Florida State. Jordan blew it against NC State.
He did. But guess what? That NC State team was one of the leaders in the nation in creating turnovers.
But that's my point. Okay. All right.
What are we?
Okay. All right.
What I'm saying is this Florida State team is going to be very good next year, and their quarterback has a ton of motivation. Regardless of the belief of what type of player he is or is not, no quarterback is in a better situation with more motivation than he is. All these other quarterbacks.
But the whole doubt me thing, that's been his narrative. We've been heard that. We've been on that. Take that chip off your shoulder, bro. 10 wins. Can you get him or not? Can you get him or not?
I think he gets him.
Now y'all want me to believe he's a quarterback? Cool. I believe it. Now you want to believe he's going to win the Heisman? All right, it's aggressive.
No, I didn't say all that. I didn't say he was going to win the Heisman. I just said he has the most to gain.
It's a whole lot of lily pad jumping over here. It's a whole lot of lily pad jumping.
He has the most to gain. I think that they get these wins in. I think they get it done.
They're going to get 11 wins.
I believe so. I believe they're going to do it.
Crack is real, and that's fine. I think that Jordan is going to have a great season. I think they're going to do well for the brand, and they're going to elevate the conference, and that is all right on fine with me.
You know, I'll tell you this, though. They can do all that without 11 wins, which is that's tough. That's tough. Because honestly, I don't look at Jordan Travis as the one that can hold them back. I don't trust Norvell at all. I don't trust him one bit.
At this point, why can we not trust him? He's done everything in terms of people just give him a little bit of patience, turn the program around.
Last year, the way that they ended that season was against a lot of bad teams. But again, I think that the amount that they have returning and how rough the ACC will look outside of them, I think that they get here. But I don't think that Jordan Travis is the liability. I think it's Norvell, but I think they get these wins. I think they get their 11.
Well, it's a good thing that we have all offseason to talk about these predictions. Therefore, that is our list. Let us know what you think about it. Send us some comments on YouTube. Let us know how you feel in our reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you choose to listen in the audio space. For Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs, until next time.